Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Monguli Show. This week's a pretty big one, as we're going to be discussing the new Spotlight Raid, the teams that are required for the Spotlight Raid, the event for Pavitar, to get him free to play, as well as the Return of Kyl's Tower. On top of that, I'm going to be joined by my buddy Updog as we discuss whether the announcement for the Spotlight Raid was actually well played, or if it's a little too early, or we just don't know enough about it. All of that stuff coming up later in the episode. Let's get into it. All right, so on Wednesday, a new blog came out talking about these Spotlight Raids. These are a brand new raids that are coming to the game, and they're going to be replacing the Greek raids, which is fantastic news because those are very old and quite dry. What we know so far is that you're going to require the Alpha Flight team as well as the Spider Society team, and that these raids, instead of it being 3 teams with 8 people on each, it's going to be 4 teams with 6 people on each. So this might be a bit of a headache for Alliance mates or Alliance leaders, but I think it's actually kind of an interesting thing, and I kind of like it that it's split up like that. It'll make it so you're really dependent on your teammate specifically, because each lane can only have, if you want to get most points, 2 people. So you're really going to have to work well with your teammate to get through this. Now you can see that for some of these nodes, you're going to have non-mythic, which is going to be almost anybody, which is nice. And then it's going to move into Spider Society only for 3 nodes, and then Alpha Flight only for 3 nodes. So it'll be kind of up to you whether or not you talk to your alliance mate and decide, I'll build Spider Society, you build Alpha Flight, and that'll be how you get into it really quickly. Or if the Alpha Flight and Spider Society unlocks going to be so far apart that you're all going to have time to build up your Spider Society and be well at that before Alpha Flight comes out and you start working away at that one. We know nothing about Alpha Flight. We don't know which members are on the team, if there's going to be any reworks, when that team is coming out. We're completely in the dark on that one, but we do know they are required for this raid. Now, it does mention that this raid is going to give lots of ability materials, including the powerful T4 ability materials and Crimson Gear, both great bottlenecks both great things we need for bottlenecks currently in this game, so that's really good as well. It also mentions that the Out of Time team is going to be required for a legendary, which we did already know, but they're just kind of reminding us this is coming. Doesn't tell you who the legendary is, so we're still kind of in the dark on that one. Maybe it'll be one of the members of Alpha Team, and that's why it's connected to this. Maybe it's not. We have no idea beyond that. It also does mention the Dark Dimension cooldown timer, which is supposed to be in effect right now, but we knew about that from last week's blog, so we're not going to touch on that too hard. Now, getting into this week's blog, we can see that you're going to be able to unlock Penny Parker as of Friday if you're willing to spend for offers of her, or if you want to use some power cores to unlock her orbs. Now, this is the same release method we've seen for a long time now, so I'm just going to remind you that on Friday, you can buy her and make sure you're opening your red star orbs to try and get your 7 red stars for her if that's something you're inclined to do. The Escape from Kyln, or Kyl's Tower as some people like to call it, is coming back on Wednesday of this week. You can see the full breakdown of the rules as well as the entries for which things you're going to need. If you weren't around for last Kyl's Tower, or if you just forget, this is one of those Avengers-style towers where you're going to progress through the levels, but you're only allowed to use a team of 3 people instead of the regular team of 5. There are restrictions for some of these nodes, and as you get further down, the restrictions start including gear tiers. So as much as I was looking forward to this the first time that it came around, it really did just come down to, do you have enough gear on these characters? Which I guess is kind of true for the entire game, but I found myself absolutely stonewalled at one point. Doesn't look like I'm going to be stonewalled this time around, at least not at the same location, so that's good for me. But make sure you take a look at this list. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of videos about this coming up from different content creators to tell you what the best characters are for each node. I'm probably going to wait until this actually goes live and we can play it in-game, and then we'll do that on twitch.tv/The Monguli Show. So if you want to head over there and hit that follow button, you can do that. Make sure you can see that content live when this goes live on Wednesday. If you do manage to escape from Kyln Tower, it does say that you will get a 3-star diamond for Gwenum, which is actually really great, as she's a fantastic part of the Hive Mind team, and that's necessary for higher level raids and stuff like that. But I'm also finding great success with them in Cosmic Crucible currently, so I'm actually pretty excited about that. You'll also get mini uniques for gear tier 16, 17, and 18, gold, and L4 training modules, so this is definitely going to be something you want to pay attention to on Wednesday when it comes out. The Golden Hour event is how we're going to be unlocking Pavitar. We're part of the Spider Society team. What we're going to be doing there is accumulating shiny coins from campaign nodes. No idea how many you're going to get from that, as well as using Spider Society members in raids. Let's jump to the chart. Now, if we take a look at the chart, you can see that you're going to get rewarded for using Peter B. Parker, Pavitar, or Penny Parker if you pay for her in this event. Unfortunately, you're going to have 5, 6, or 7 yellow stars on most of these characters to get actually decent rewards from this. Otherwise, you're only going to get 1,000 points, which isn't going to do all that well in this event. So we'll have to see how likely it is we're going to actually have those characters at high level stars. This is a very early event for these characters, so most likely you're just going to have Peter B. Parker and maybe Pavitar unlocked, which is only going to be 2,000 points, which is not great. So hopefully you can earn a lot of shiny coins, but again, we don't know what the ratio for that is. So check back Monday when we actually know, and we'll do a better video on that. You will see that this is a good way to unlock Pavitar. There are a lot of shards for him available in the store, as well as gamma rays and the sun rays towards the month-long event. And there's 15 leader shards in here, which they've been doing this month, and I actually kind of like as a way to keep you engaged throughout the month and unlock your main character, try and get them up a little bit higher. Like every event so far has had like 10 or 15 leader shards in it, and I actually kind of like that. I think that's a good idea. If you make it all the way down to the bottom, you can get some Dark Diamond promotional credits, 5 million gold, and 20,000 Crimson Gear Raid Orb fragments, which is nice, as well as a whopping 40 Pavitar shards. So if you're able to get all the way to the bottom, fantastic. But for most of us, we're probably going to be sitting around this Sunrays node, somewhere in that range. There is a leaderboard attached to this as well with lots of Crimson Gear. If you can make it into the top 3% of players, and if you can make it in the top 1,000, you will get diamonds for your Black Cat, which is actually an incredibly good reward. I know that's only going to be for, 1,000 players or so, but the fact that they're starting to give these out gives me hope, so that's a wonderful thing. I will probably be somewhere in this 1 to 10% if I'm being honest, so I'm not going to get them, but for those of you who do, congratulations. Now, as always, there is a feeder event, but interestingly enough, this feeder event doesn't feed into the unlock event. It feeds into the alliance event that we're going to talk about in a second, so that's really interesting. Now, these numbers seem really low. You're only going to get 30 or 40 points towards the milestone, which you might be like, wow, that's awful, but keep in mind, this is going to repeat every day, so you're going to do this every day for 7 days, but also your entire alliance is also going to be doing this. So if your entire alliance hits this milestone every single day, 10,000 shiny coins a day, that's going to be worth 50,000-ish points, milestone points towards your alliance, towards the event we're going to talk about in a second. So that's not awful. It's not amazing, but it's not awful. There's also gamma rays in here and a minor amount of gold and gold promotional credits, but keep in mind, you are going to be able to do this daily. Now, this is the Alliance event that I was just talking about. The other one is going to feed into this. We can start off, hopefully, at about 50,000 points if our Alliance is participating. So that's decent. You're also going to want to play in raid battles to a limit of 90,000 points. So that's going to be about 12 raids a day for every single person. So a little bit past the 10 that's normal, but still very, very doable. If you do that, it's another 90,000 points, bringing us our total up to about 140,000, which is good for milestone 12, which will get you all of the gamma rays, as well as 15,000 shiny coins. And of course, you can also earn allied supply orbs to bump that number up. So depending on how your alliance does with those, you might be able to get down even lower. At the very bottom, you will see quite a bit of Crimson Gear, which is nice, as well as another 15,000 shiny coins. So if you can make it down to the bottom, great. But for most of us, we're probably going to be stuck somewhere in this 12 to 14 milestone range. The quick Rumble Blitz this week is going to be your Invaders. They've been out for quite some time, and even though they're not a good team, you should have them at 7 stars by now, so this should be nice and easy for you. All right, and the poll for the Player's Voice Dark Dimension 7 celebration is over, and it looks like your winners are Red Goblin and Void Knight. This is wonderful news, as these are two of the most sought-out characters, and neither one of them are currently farmable, so this is really good. They do mention they'll let us know in the future. You're going to get one or the other, but you get to choose which one you want. They'll let us know when that actually happens, and you'll get 100 shards of that character. If you don't have them, that's good enough for an unlock. If you do have them, hopefully that bumps you up a star level. All right, and as I mentioned, I'm joined by my friend Updog for this one. I want to have this be kind of a recurring segment on the show where I just kind of add in another content creator and we can discuss a hot topic or something in the community that's just kind of rubbing us the wrong way, or maybe that we're super positive about. Either way, have this like debate style show back and forth. Now for this one, Updog was happy enough to join me and I really appreciate him being here, but we didn't seem as opposed. Like we were both kind of in the middle on this one. Like neither one of us was super positive or super negative. I'm hoping in the future I can either be personally or find somebody who is more on the exact opposite side of the coin for me. But it was still a great conversation and I greatly appreciate him helping me out with that. So check this out. All right, so Updog is here to discuss this with me. We're going to be going, one of us is going to go positive, one of us is going to go negative. We've decided that I'm going to be the negative one for this one, and that's fine because I do have some thoughts on this one that I'm not super big on, but I think realistically we both kind of end up somewhere in the middle on this, right? Like neither one of us hate this, but neither one of us love this. Is that accurate?
Correct. Yep.
Cool.
That's it.
So as far as this announcement goes, there's three-ish things that I want to touch on. One is I'm not super in love with the fact that they are giving us information in the sense that like we need these teams or we need these characters to unlock certain things, but then they're not telling us anything about what those characters are. For instance, we know that we need the Alpha Flight for this new Spotlight raid. We don't even know who's on Alpha Flight at this point. All we know is that Guardian and Sasquatch are in and Vindicator is out. That's all the information we have on this. I wish they'd given us a little bit more. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to know if Alpha Flight, if this is their primary purpose, just for this raid. Are they a raid team? Are they... I mean, my personal theory is that Wolverine's going to be on the team, but we'll have to see about that. But I would say that they are able to tune the nodes so that Alpha Flight can get through it, right?
Yeah.
They're the ones that are designing the nodes. So let's say they're a war team or something. The devs are going to be able to put in the enemies that they'll be able to defeat easier, other than like let's say there's just a bunch of Spider Society characters that we have to face in that raid or whatever. So hopefully they pay attention to that and make it a little bit easier. Also, like the difficulty, we don't know about that too. Like, is it going to be similar to the Gamma for difficulty 5, or is it going to be harder than that? How much are they going to push us to invest into those characters?
Yeah. Now, we do know that it's going to be the harder nodes, or sorry, the nodes are going to be required for harder difficulties, but we have no idea where that harder difficulty starts. Right? Like, is that going to start at 95? Is that going to start at like 80? Like, what level are we going to have to be stuck on these specific teams? And that's the other thing that I want to touch on is we know we need Alpha Flight and Spider Society. Now, for you and I think we're both pretty safe to say that we're both going to build these teams kind of regardless, right? Like, unless Alpha Flight is hot trash. Like, there's no way we're skipping Spider Society as it is a necessary raid team for 2.3.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So we know we're building it. But it still doesn't sit right with me that we are forced to build this team. And when I say that, what I mean is, for these nodes, as you can see, there are certain ones that have the Spider Society tag and certain ones that have the Alpha Flight tag. There's no wiggle room that we're shown there. Like, historically, most raids give you at least 2 teams that you can bounce before, right? Is there any raid in the past that you can think of where you've been literally no choice, you have to build one team and one team only?
Really the closest thing we've had is that Gamma 4.5 before they added like Infestation, and I guess that's about it. Well, didn't they add Pim Tech later on too? Because wasn't it just, I can't remember exactly, but we had Wakanda and Kree in that one on the one side lane, and Kree obviously is just trash, and so everybody had to build Wakanda for that lane.
Yeah.
So that's about the closest we come to your situation you're talking about.
Which is fair. I obviously, if we do get a secondary team, I don't want it to be a trash team. I don't want it to be like Mercenaries or something. Well, I guess the new Mercenary team might be good, but you know what I mean? Like the older Mercenaries.
Yeah.
But I'm also not saying it needs to be like an absolutely meta team. But if it was a team that was like okay, it would at least give you the option in a situation where, like, let's say you're on node 2 and one of your team members dies, at least you have the option of bringing in somebody else instead of having to heal them. And again, we don't know enough. We don't even know if we can heal on this raid.
Right, yeah. I would suspect we won't be able to, because that's how Greeks have been, the higher difficulties.
Yeah.
But again, if we're going to need to do Gear 18 on the Alpha Flight as well as the Spider Society, that's not going to feel good, but got to put our faith into Scopely, apparently.
Yeah. And so some people are comparing this to Scourges, where like you have to have Scourge teams built up certain high. And I don't necessarily agree with that, because if I choose to skip or wait on building a Scourge team, that hurts nobody but myself. Whereas because this is a raid event, this is an alliance-wide event, I might be really hurting my alliance if I just decide to skip a team, because now I can't help on that certain lane whatsoever. So whoever my lane mate is, because it's only going to be 2 people per lane, now they're potentially forced to build both teams to carry my ass. That doesn't feel good either, right? Like,
right. That doesn't feel good, but they, as we've seen with Spider Society, they've found ways to make them worth your investment. So, they're going to be required in the Kyln Tower. They're going to be required for this raid. They're going to be able. They're going to what? They're going to boost the season points, I think, for incursion if you hit 100%. I think they said something like that. So hopefully they find other ways for Alpha Flight to, have value outside of this.
Yeah. Are you thinking that Alpha Flight is going to be a raid team based on this information? Like, obviously, they're necessary for this raid, but do you think that's what their main is going to be, or what do you think they're actually going to be specifically?
I think they might have been designed for Battle World, would have been my guess, but it seems like we haven't heard anything about Battle World.
Not since it's in the original inception
preview blog or whatever. Yeah, so I'm guessing it's been delayed, like from what they expected, and so I'm thinking it's one of those teams where they're pivoting from Battle World team to whatever mode they're looking at. So, which was kind of weird with when Cabal came out, another Crucible team after we just got Superior 6. So the timing on these teams lately has just been really strange. So I'm assuming the Mercs team is going to be a war team.
Okay.
So if that's true, then and we don't get Battle World, then I'm thinking Alpha Flight may be another Crucible team. I have no idea. I don't think it's going to be just a straight out raid team though.
Fair enough. As a player who likes Cosmic Crucible, that's probably my favorite way to play this game at the moment. I'm kind of okay with that, but we just don't know. Like, there's no information about that team yet, which makes some people say that this announcement is a little bit premature. It's a little bit early. Now, I'm not personally on the board of they only brought this out now to try and sell more Spider Society. I know some people are saying that. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. But this event, like, I do kind of wonder, why are we getting this information now for not getting all of the information?
I mean, there's not much you can prepare, really, with this kind of announcement, other than make sure you build Spider Society. So
I feel like we're both way too in the middle on this one. Neither one of us is going super hard or super positive. We're all just like, I don't know, I guess we'll wait and see.
I think it is good that we know ahead of time what to expect. It's good that they're replacing Greeks. I just hope, like we said, I hope the rewards are going to be good and worth it. That's the important thing. One of the important things is to make our investment worth it.
Yeah.
What else is good about this? I mean, it kind of gives...
That pause kind of says it all.
It kind of gives, I don't know, like a little bit of a rejuvenation into maybe your alliance, maybe.
Okay.
With a new raid, people getting excited. There's going to be 4 strike teams, which we'll see how that plays out. But
which is another point I didn't even touch on, because I am not an alliance leader and I don't ever want to be. But I know some alliance leaders who are freaking out about this because now they have to make whole new lane assigns and stuff like that. I'm not going to go into that point too much because that's not where I'm at in this game. But I know there are some people who are not happy about that and are wanting to see that changed. I think it's kind of a cool idea. I know I'm supposed to be the negative one here, but I think it's actually kind of a cool idea to have partners. Because then I can talk to my alliance mate who's very specific, like, okay, but you and me on this one, what are we doing here? The idea that I could build Spider Society, they could build Alpha Flight, and then we could, like, at least buy ourselves some time. I can go super deep on Spider Society, they can go super deep on Alpha Flight, and then I can build my Alpha Flight slower. That actually is kind of a cool idea, and I do like that. But it still means that if that's the case, whoever my partner is stuck behind how fast I can build Alpha Flight.
It's going to be, a little bit of an adjustment, but I think it's going to be nice for those people. Like, we have 3 or 4 people over in New Zealand and Australia, and so it's going to be nice for those people to be paired with somebody from the U.S. in one lane, so that way, like, the Australian person can go in, and then we'll always have somebody attacking on those lanes, All
right, I mildly wish we were a little bit more opposed to each other on this argument. It sounds like we're fairly on board. Sorry, go ahead.
Another good thing about it is the increase in the Crimson Gear. So thank you for reminding me about that, Jerry. So
yeah, for sure. Crimson Gear and T4 abilities are both great things. Me and Chat both thought diamonds were a part of this, but I do not see diamonds anywhere in this argument. So I'm guessing we're getting that confused with something else. But
I don't
even so, T4 and especially Crimson are both incredible things to be adding to this. So I do like that. I don't know. I feel like I've been negative all morning. My breaking kayfabe, if you will. I actually think that replacing the Greek raids is a fantastic idea. I'm very on board with getting a new alliance or a new raid. I love that they're giving us T-Force and Crimson. I really like a lot of what's going on here. My biggest thing, and I don't know why we're getting this pushback as hard as I am on this one, I just wish you had options on the raids, on the notes. I don't like that it's literally just one team is the only thing.
Yeah.
Everybody seems to disagree with me on that. I get a lot of that's the way it is, that's the way it's always been. I don't agree with that entirely. I think there have been many raids where you've had even bad options are better than no options. And you can fight me on that one if you want, but I think that that is actually true. But that's, I don't know. All in all, I think it's a good thing. I wish we had more information here. As always, I will always want more information as opposed to less. But I guess as a teaser, this is fine. All right, what do you think of this new format to the weekly blog? Did you like this more? Did you like having the other content creator on there? Or did you rather I just have the really short episodes that are just the weekly blog and that's it? Let me know down in the comments down below. This was recorded live over at twitch.tv/TheMongoolie Show. So if you're interested in having a conversation with me or joining that, head over to that channel, hit that follow button so you know when we go live. We go live Monday nights, Wednesday nights, and Saturday mornings, and sometimes pop-up streams here and there. But that's when you can kind of count on seeing me. If you made it this far in the video, I'm going to have to assume you liked it. Hit that like button, and maybe even give it a subscribe if you want more content like this in the future. Other than that, Commanders, I hope you have a great week, and good luck to you.